People are stupid.
Live to tape.
Welcome to Millennial 428. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela. Oops, wrong way. I'm Pamela.
That's okay.
It's fine.
And joining us this week, as teased over the last couple of weeks on the show, is Parker.
Hey guys,
Parker,
how's it going?
Thank you so much for being here with us today.
No problem, I'm pumped. It's going to be lit, like the kids say.
As the kids say.
As Donald Trump Jr. says as well now. Did we all see that on Twitter last week?
Oh my god, who didn't see it on Twitter?
Oh, I didn't see it. I don't want to see it.
I didn't see it either.
And then John Oliver was like, all right, it's time to put lit to bed.
That's why I saw it. Damn it, John.
Anyway, so Parker, we wanted to have you on because you are a Republican. You are going to offer us some alternate perspectives today. We're going to fight it out. No.
I'm ready.
No,
I'm
we're
ready.
not.
Well, but Parker said before
not.
recording that he is up for a good debate. So
Sure. Yeah.
So,
don't be nice is what I'm saying.
yeah, we can go rough on him. Unlike other Republicans, he's not a snowflake.
Yeah. I'm not Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I guess that is important to say up front here, right? You're not a Trump apologist.
No, I'm a Trump opposite whatever the opposite of apologist is, I am that. I'm a never Trumper. I guess that's
Never
what
Trumper.
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I may not disagree with you as much as you want. So, we'll see.
Good, because we're snowflakes and we couldn't bear that a Trump supporter on here. Anyway, so we'll talk about being a Republican millennial in a little bit, but some other things to talk about first. I got lucky last week. Well, I should say my boyfriend Pat got lucky. So he was on the show last week, and I was glad to see that people liked him being on and learned about milk from him. But then the next day, around 10:30, 11 a.m., maybe it was 2 days later, he texts me, "Clear your schedule for Thursday." And I knew instantly what had happened because he enters every day. And I myself had just gotten a notification saying, "You did not enter the Hamilton or you did not win the Hamilton lottery." He won the Hamilton lottery. So we went the next day. And yeah, it was really cool to go. It's just shocking that he won the Hamilton lottery. It just seems impossible. This is actually not his first time winning, but he's also one of these people who enters every day of his life. So
I'm so envious.
Laura,
Retweet.
you weren't you planning on coming to Chicago to see it? Whatever happened to that?
We are going in October.
Oh, thanks for telling me.
Yeah. I figured what I'd do is I would wait till like 24 hours before I was going to go and then be like, "Hey, Andrew, I'm going to be in Chicago, but I'm really busy."
Someone's salty from when I came to Atlanta and forgot to tell her. I understand. But then, no, that's exciting. That's exciting. You'll have a great time. And actually, I won't be here for all of October, so I'll see you another time.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I was like, damn, Andrew, jeez.
Wait, so Andrew, was it better than The Cursed Child? That is my question.
Oh my God. Well, that's a hard question because I like Harry Potter and I like The Cursed Child on stage. Reading it, no, it's not good. If you were to read Hamilton versus read Cursed Child, I'm sure you would like Hamilton a lot more. But Hamilton is also a musical. It's
sure. Yeah.
I guess the thing is for me, and this shocked a lot of people, I'm one of these people who don't like listening to a musical soundtrack before going to the show. So for the past few years, despite everybody raving about it, I haven't listened to Hamilton. I've heard bits and pieces from when people play it when they're near me or something like that, but that's it. So I went in pretty blind, and I did enjoy it a lot. The music was catchy as fuck. It was funny. It was smart. It was cool. I didn't realize the whole plot would revolve around infidelity. I wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah, Hamilton was not exactly the most faithful husband figure, and the first reported sex scandal in American history.
Oh, wow. Fun fact.
Good for him. Just kidding. I take that back.
So it was very cool. And, I think it's a good show. I think they're onto something there. So if you're thinking about seeing it, you should definitely do that.
Yeah, they're coming to Atlanta. And I don't know, Laura, if you know when they're coming to Atlanta, but the tickets were like $300. And it's like, oh, I can't do it.
Yeah, so actually that's why we're going to Chicago, because it's only in Atlanta for 2 weeks. And it was only like season pass holders to the Fox who got like priority access to the tickets. So most of them were gone by the time it opened up to the general public. But whatever was left over was hundreds of dollars per ticket. And it's actually cheaper for us to fly to Chicago for the weekend and see the show.
Holy crap. That's crazy.
You know, it was in San Francisco for like months and the tickets never went down in price. And I'm actually really jealous of people in the UK because I think they put regulations in place to kind of deter scalpers from coming in and swooping all of them up. And I wish they would have done that in like the rest of America, basically, not just San Francisco, because those tickets went so fast and then they were on StubHub like 5 minutes later.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other crazy thing about the lottery. These damn tickets cost $10 a piece if you win. And we were second
ham for ham.
And we were second row. Like, oh fuck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They were spitting on us. We were so close. Anyway, that was a cool experience. And Pam, you have a cool experience coming up.
Yeah, I'm flying out to San Diego tomorrow to attend San Diego Comic-Con, which is like every pop culture nerd's dream. Thanks, Hypeable, for sending me for a 4th year.
Are you stressed? It is a very big event.
I'm stressed, but I will be well dressed.
There you go.
That's how I deal with stress, is I just go shopping for new clothes and then I justify it because it's going to be like 30 degrees hotter than it is in San Francisco.
Uh-huh. What do you think? What do you think people are most excited about this year?
You know what? Probably Doctor Who. They have their panel on Thursday. Jodie Whittaker is joining as the first female doctor, so that's a really big thing. They had a really big presence for a while at San Diego Comic-Con, but they haven't been in a few years. And now that the new doctor has regenerated and it's kind of like a whole new cast and everybody's like really excited because they've built up momentum for this show that was getting a tiny little bit stale depending on which part of the fandom you asked. I think it's just rejuvenated people's excitement for that. A lot of like bigger shows aren't coming. HBO is not bringing anything. So no Westworld, no Game of Thrones this year. Marvel's not coming. DC will be there. But, you know, while they generate some buzz, they don't generate as much buzz as Marvel does. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It's going to be a weird year.
Yeah. Fantastic Beasts is going to be there as well.
What?
Yeah. What? Is that news to
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, they haven't been like, Fantastic Beasts is going to do a panel, but WB has like casually mentioned it, and they were there 2 years ago as well, and there's surely going to be a trailer, so that'll be interesting to see.
Maybe I'll hear it from the press room for Comic-Con is right above Hall H, which is the big room that all of the big stuff is in. And last year I was working upstairs or 2 years ago, while the Fantastic Beasts trailer was playing. And I just knew that it was the Fantastic Beasts trailer because I could hear the music, but I couldn't understand any of the dialogue. It was so funny.
That's funny. Cool. Yeah, well, best of luck to you down there at Comic-Con.
Thanks.
Speaking of people who need some luck, I just wanted to talk about something that happened on Monday. So before we get to that, late last week, Robert Mueller issued indictments against 12 Russian spies for election interference in the form of a hack of the Democratic National Committee, specifically people who were working for Hillary Clinton. Then just a few days later, on Monday, President Trump met with Vladimir Putin, after which they had a press conference, and Trump sided with Putin during the press conference, contradicting U.S. intelligence that Russia had interfered in the 2016 election. His response to that was basically just to say, I know that they think that something happened, but I don't see why anything happened.
He's crazy.
Yeah, so I wanted to let everybody know that the President of the United States is siding with a known adversary, an autocrat, a dictator, over our intelligence agencies. get ready to learn Russian.
Yeah, this has been gigantic news today. Some people are actually comparing it to his Charlottesville remarks in that he has a chance here to take the right side, and he's not. And, a lot of people on both sides, of course, everybody on the left is very upset about what he said, but some people on the right, like John McCain, like Mitt Romney, a bunch of
Paul Ryan,
Fox News anchors as well have been kind of shitting on this.
And that's crazy if they're mad at it, it's bad.
Well, it's wrong, isn't it, Parker?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think he would agree with whoever he's in the room with. Like, he agreed with the Democratic senators when they were talking about taking away guns. He's like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So I think he just likes to be liked, and he was near Putin, so he said that. And maybe there's something worse going on, but,
Yeah. I mean, it kind of feels more clear than ever that that Russia has some sort of compromising information on him.
Ooh, I don't know.
They asked about that today. In the press conference, somebody asked Putin if he had compromising information on President Trump and his family. And Putin's response was at first he tried to be diplomatic and say, hey, when Trump was in Moscow, he was just a private citizen. I didn't even know he was here. Why would I care? And then the end of his remark was like, so please put these little, issues of inconsequence to bed. Like, we don't want to talk about this anymore. So he started out super diplomatic and then basically ended with, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I just don't know what he would be, like, what Putin could have on him. It would have to be illegal, because nothing could ruin his presidency to the people who support him. Like, he's gone through all these controversies. So, like, I think it has to be something illegal that he must have done.
Yeah. Are golden showers illegal?
I don't know. No comment.
My thing is, I don't give a shit if he got peed on by some strippers or whatever. I literally don't care. That's a private thing. I wouldn't care if any president did that. That's their business. My fear is that the Russians were so successful in leading a propaganda campaign against American democracy. It wasn't even just against Hillary Clinton. It was just American democracy. And they have done very well at destabilizing other governments around the world. And so my fear is that they might have something similar on Trump, i.e. Hillary's emails, which were made to be a much bigger deal than they actually were, in order to sway public opinion one way or the other. So.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just really sad after Mueller's indictments to see Trump still giving Russia the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't matter that he was right in front of Putin's face. He needs to take a stand. That's what a president has to do.
Yeah, and the thing is, he tweeted today even that there was Russian interference. It may have been an accident, but he tweeted about the Russian interference, and it's like,
oh yeah, he blamed Obama.
So, I don't know. Yeah. So that if you blame Obama, you have to say that at least it exists or existed.
Yeah, and by the way, that excuse, I really hope his supporters aren't buying that. Trump said, why aren't we blaming Obama? Why didn't Obama do anything? That's what he said on Twitter a few days ago. Because if he did something and then you, Donald Trump, lost, you would have blamed Obama for throwing the election in Hillary's favor. And I'm pretty sure reports around that time had come out, or after the election had come out, stating that Obama didn't want to wade into the election, so that's why he stayed quiet. And that's a perfectly acceptable answer.
Well, and there were things that happened. I mean, Obama communicated directly with Putin telling him to stop, which, I mean, I don't know if that's a super effective method, but it did happen. They also closed a couple of Russian consulates that we had, I believe, and then also levied some sanctions against the Russians for doing that. So it's not that nothing was done, but I think that an argument could be made that the Obama administration could have taken a much greater stand against this publicly, rather than trying to work through back channels, because that's kind of like, we're in a post back channel period in American history. Like, that's done. So I think, go ahead.
And that's all I had meant was Obama didn't do anything publicly because he didn't want to throw the election.
But, you know, it happened anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, it's an exciting day here at Millennial. We have new album art. We released it on Monday. I was very excited to share it with everybody. We've been working on it for a couple of months. We're trying to work on kind of rebranding the show a little bit. We love our original logo. We love our name. But when you looked at the logo, it just didn't really explain the show. So our new album art is vibrant. It has a lot within it. It was designed by one of my friends here in Chicago, John. He's a friend of Pat's originally, and Pat introduced him to me, and I checked out his website, and I was like, damn, you got a good portfolio. You want to do something for the podcast that I do? I really love it. Do you guys love it just as much?
I do. I love how I feel like every time I look at it, I notice something new. Mm-hmm. Like I had one time, I was like, oh, I see the peach and the eggplant, you know, and the avocado toast and the donut. But then later I was like, oh, it's the mica chair.
Yeah, there's little Easter eggs like that in it. Our goal was to appeal to existing listeners and potential new listeners. So now when you see the album art, you will understand what this podcast is about. It's about avocado toast. No, it's about millennial issues. And something we're trying to explain to people who don't know the show is that this is your podcast. This is the podcast for millennials. This is to help you grow up and get through life. We talk about issues that affect everybody. And we think that's a unique angle for us to take, especially with our name. Our freaking name is Millennial. Let's ride that train. Let's take advantage of the fact that we are Millennial Podcast. So you can check it out if you haven't already. It should be within your podcast app now that you're listening, and we hope you like it. John is also up for doing additional graphics for us, so we'll probably update the album art from time to time. You may have noticed there is a Trump face in there. Of course, whenever he is no longer president, that face is definitely going to be replaced. But we'll add other things in as new references come up for this show or new millennial things enter the realm of pop culture. So, yeah, that's that. We have a lot to get to today, but first it's time for a word from our first sponsor. They are Policy Genius. We've told you about them before. They are the go-to place for anyone searching for insurance policies of all types. Listen to these stats. 71% of people say they need life insurance, but only 59% have coverage. That means at least 12% of people are procrastinating. And let's be real, you might be one of those people who have been putting it off because you're busy, your attention is elsewhere, you've been holding off biting the bullet. But you got to stop that, and there is good news. If you've been avoiding getting life insurance, procrastinating may have actually worked in your favor, because while you were putting off getting life insurance, Policy Genius was making it easy. I admittedly have been one of those procrastinators. So I went to Policy Genius to look up life insurance because I've been curious what it would cost. That sounds daunting. Life insurance. Oh my God, it must be expensive. For me, I actually found it to be very cheap, only about $20 a month. And they know about the medicines that I take. And Policy Genius was able to determine this after I spent just 2 minutes answering some questions. See, Policy Genius is the way to quickly and easily compare quotes from the top insurers to find the best policy for you. In fact, they have helped over 4 million people shop for insurance and placed over $20 billion in coverage. Don't let insurance shopping suck anymore. Use these guys to make it quick and easy. If you need life insurance, but you've been putting it off because it's too confusing or you don't have the time, check out Policy Genius. It's the easy way to compare top insurers and find the best value for you. There's no sales pressure and zero hassle, and it's free, and it's a beautiful site that's easy to use. PolicyGenius.com. When it's this easy to compare life insurance, why put it off? And speaking of putting things off, we can no longer put off our fears, Laura. It's time to face the facts.
Yep.
We do have listeners who are Republicans.
It only took us 4 seasons to have somebody on. No, we've had surprise bitch callers before, but I mean, basically, Parker, you emailed in and you made a very convincing case for yourself.
Thank you. I thought I tried to sometimes.
But yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know if maybe you want to talk a little bit about some of your background before we dive into questions.
Sure. Yeah. So I worked in DC for a little bit, and then I work in politics. So I did some campaigning last summer and into November for some politicians around where I live, and now I work full time in politics. That's just what I'll say for the record. And I really like to talk about politics, and I like to talk with people that I don't always agree with, because I think it's good for me. And that's one of the reasons I listen to the show, to hear what other people are thinking, so that I don't get in my echo chamber, because it doesn't really help when you got all these Republicans saying all these Republican things, and you're like, of course that's right. When maybe you have someone else who thinks something different, and it might actually help you like form your opinion. So that's why I'm happy to be on here too. I'm pumped. It should be fun.
Yeah, and we're happy to have you for the same reason. I think we've talked on the show before that we definitely do not deny that the show has a very distinct liberal bias. So it's really great when we can get somebody to push back on some of that, because it often leads to more fruitful discussion. So thank you again for being here.
Yeah, no problem. I'm pumped.
So I guess we can start out with, what are some things that we've said on the show that you disagree with us on?
Okay, yeah. So it's not everything. I'll start out with that. So that's good. But I think one of the things that I've noticed is like, it just kind of within a lot of the things I'll talk about, is just like, you'll have a lot of great ideas of like really great things that we should be doing as a country. So like universal healthcare, like that's a great idea. I'd love everyone to have healthcare, but then I keep on wondering like, who is going to pay for all this stuff? And I don't know if universal healthcare is something that we can afford, and then a bunch of these other things that I just really don't know if it's affordable. And I think there's a place for Republicans, because they think about money, and you kind of have to have that in any relationship. You got to have someone who's like the dreamer, and then you got someone who's the realist, who's like, maybe we can't do that, but we can do this. And maybe that's what happened with Obamacare. But so there's that one. And then, immigration is another one that I'm not a child parent separating type of person. That is evil, I think, in my mind, and in most people's minds. But I do wonder, I'm not for, and I don't know if y'all are for this either, so feel free to push back on me. The open borders idea of like just letting like whoever gets in here gets to kind of stay. I mean, ideally that would be great. I'd love as many people to come to America as we can, but we do have to pay a lot of money to keep them on welfare if they are on welfare, and to give them health insurance if they do get health insurance through Obamacare, or when they go to the emergency rooms. There's a lot of costs that I think we don't always think about, which is kind of hard, because you want to talk about the people, and like these are people. These are not just like animals. These are like God-given people who are made in the image of God. So you gotta treat them like that. So I think there's a little bit more of a balance. I'm personally for giving the dreamers a path to citizenship. But I think you gotta have some kind of rule of law somehow. I don't know exactly what that is, but you gotta have it. Then I guess the third one, I mean, we can talk about that for a second if you want to.
Well,
yeah. So, sorry, Andrew.
Well, I just think in terms of immigration, if people, Trump in particular, he likes to say that people are coming over the border in mass droves. He makes it seem like, there's no wall or fencing or security at all. Everybody's just like sort of strolling over the border. Now I'm in, now I'm not. Now I'm in, now I'm not. Oh, it's fun hopscotch. But no, I mean, people can't that easily come over the border. And I would agree with you in that people need to pay their fair share if they are going to be here. Especially if you're going to be working here, you should pay taxes. So that way we can afford to give you, healthcare, Social Security, other protections.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
actually, sorry. I was going to say, I agree with that too. I think that the system right now is broken, and I think it's going to take people of many minds to figure out a way to fix it. I don't agree with villainizing people that are coming over here, though. And that's my major concern, and something that I think needs to stop right away, regardless of how we decide to fix immigration. We can't just keep villainizing an entire region of people just because a small group of people decide to do bad things.
Yeah,
I agree.
Sure. I agree
and I
with that.
think I have comments on a lot of what was said here, mostly that I think that we are, Parker, you and I are coming from a place of agreement in terms of like these issues are a lot more gray area than black and white. I am not for an open border policy. Simply, it's not because in my heart of hearts, I wouldn't want everyone to be able to come here, but it's not sustainable. From an economical perspective, it simply isn't. But I agree with Pam that the system is broken on both sides. I think that there are always going to be ways in which people living in this country end up footing the bill somewhat as it is related to issues of immigration. But something that often gets left out of these discussions is that immigrants themselves are being taken advantage of. Many immigrants pay taxes that they never get back. They just pay into our tax system and get no return, no refund on that whatsoever. To my knowledge, undocumented immigrants can't receive welfare.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, that's okay. So that's okay. So to me, it seems like we're kind of between like a rock and a hard place in that people on both sides of this do have legitimate concerns. And it then becomes a question of like, okay, we have to sit down at the table and figure out how do we pay for this in a way that is most equitable for everybody involved and provides the greatest benefit for everyone. And I think for some people, that discussion ends up boiling down to, when we say everyone, do we actually mean everyone, or do we actually just mean people who are citizens of the United States?
Yeah. Yeah, I think those are good points. I think, and then the one other issue that I tend to disagree with y'all, which is kind of hard because y'all talk about these things a lot, is a lot of the social issues. So like abortion is one that I can't see I haven't been able to see the pro-choice argument yet and like jump on board with it. So I'm very pro-life, and that's just one when, I don't know, sometimes when I hear y'all talking about it, it seems like y'all think the other side is like actually like just is evil and that they want to like restrict women's rights and stuff. And I kind of want to push back on that and kind of be like, well, I mean, some people may be wanting to push back against women's rights. I won't say everybody isn't. But a lot of the people that I talk to and the people in my circles, we're pro-life because we believe that that's a person. And so like we kind of have to protect that if we do believe it's a person. So I think that's the other one. That's actually the biggest one that I think I disagree with y'all on.
And I do understand where you're coming from, given your upbringing in the South. And it sounds like you're a pretty religious person as well, correct?
Sure. Yeah. For sure.
Okay. So yeah, and I mean, I understand that is important in your eyes in letting this child live. But then I guess from the left's perspective, and maybe it's not the best for a guy to be talking about this right now. Like me and Parker are going to talk about women's rights. You know what? I'm just going to shut up and let Laura and Pam respond.
Yeah, I was going to say, Laura and I are just going to be over here having a good, strong drink while you guys decide what to do with our bodies.
And I think that's part of it too, right, Pam, is that the people who legislate us are predominantly male. So it's kind of like a gut punch, no pun intended, to like have somebody who does not have the physical capability of bearing a child telling you what to do with that.
The other thing is like, I don't know, because I don't talk about this a lot because I don't like go to church every Sunday, but I was raised Catholic and my family is still very religious. And it's kind of interesting because while my immediate family is religious, we're very open-minded. And I don't think that we wholeheartedly agree with everything that the Catholic Church has pushed.
Sure.
But I also kind of feel, in terms of the idea of abortion, that just because a child is born doesn't mean that this child is going to have a great life. Like, obviously there's a possibility of that, but you have, or not you specifically, but everybody that's arguing that the child should be born can't guarantee that that child isn't going to be put up for adoption, end up in foster care systems that are also broken. You know, like the quality of life sometimes is not always there, and nobody's going to want to pay for this child to be raised in, you know, a good environment. if their situation is bad. So it's just hard for me to understand why we would want to bring more children into the world when, there's so many kids that already need help.
Sure. But see, can I push back on that a tiny bit? I know I'm a man talking about this, so it's kind of rough. But so I believe that life is valuable, any life would be valuable. So even a bad life is better than no life, which may be kind of hard for people who don't agree with me to see that. But, so I'm a Christian, and I know you say you grew up Catholic. So one of the strongest beliefs of Christianity is that literally every life is valuable, even if it's someone with Down syndrome, or someone who might be born with Down syndrome, or someone who's 89 and can't speak, can't even really think. So my value of life in that way kind of has to overtake whether or not we want these children. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I'm not even talking about, a child being born with a disability. I'm just literally talking about, a human, I don't know. It's hard because I understand, of course, where that argument comes from. But I also just don't think that, also with the regulations that people want to put in place for women's bodies, Laura and I have discussed too, that if we ended up pregnant for some reason and we needed to abort, we would not know in time if before the cutoff that is suggested to be regulated potentially, because women's periods are not usually on time, especially for young women, because stress adds to late menstruation. If you suffer from mental illness, sometimes that too means that you're not regular. If you have health problems, you're not regular. There's so many different factors that could go into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough issue. Sure.
And I agree with you there. I think, and I agree with you. And again, this is me speaking from my heart of hearts. In my heart of hearts, I feel in a perfect and ideal world where everybody was prepared and capable of deciding when and how they got pregnant, it would be great. But I feel we don't live in that world. And my fear is that the more that we restrict access to abortion, we're not actually getting rid of abortion. We're forcing women back into a time period where they were doing it themselves. And so that's another fear that I have. And I guess that's a question that I have for somebody who is pro-life. At what point do we value the life of the woman who does not want to carry the pregnancy to term and who has no access and decides to use a coat hanger?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, so I just from a logical standpoint, and there are many women who I know who would agree with me. I wish I couldn't have had them here, so I wouldn't.
That's okay. We invited you on for this, so please don't feel you have to hold back.
Okay. Well, thank you. So if I believe every I guess fetus or unborn child is a child and is worth protecting as much as a child who's not born, I kind of have to push to make it illegal to kill that child, no matter how old they are, no matter how and we talked about the disability thing already, but it doesn't really matter if people will still do it. People will still, and this is a bad analogy. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but people will still murder people even though it's illegal. And I don't know if I know that's inflammatory, but I don't know if I should be well, people will murder people, so let's allow them to do it safely. And it's not the same, but that logic kind of goes back to why I would still want it to be completely illegal, even if some people are going to be doing it and hurting themselves. Does that make sense? Or does that sound crazy?
I mean, I very strongly disagree, but I understand the point that you're making. And I understand just from the perspective of you fully believing life begins at conception. And I understand why, if you believe that it would be of the utmost importance to try and prevent that from happening. I guess
Sure.
I think from a legislative point of view, I feel there are a few things in America that we're never going to get rid of. And I feel abortion is one of those things. So I'm coming at it from the perspective that there will always be somebody who is in need of this service. And I feel since that is the case, it should be safe and accessible to people. Mm-hmm. But I think this is also a point where we can talk and talk and talk about it, and we can understand where the other one's coming from, but we will never agree. And that's, that's just the nature of it.
You're right.
Yeah.
So let's move on to another one. Do you think Republicans generally get a bad rap from the left, and do you find it unfair?
Yeah, so I think pre-2016, before we had Donald Trump as a person who was identifying as a Republican, I think that I would say yes. Like, because, I mean, people, and no matter what people say, there are a lot of more left-leaning people in the media, and they could have found ways to make Republicans look bad. But now I think we're just giving it to them. We're like, oh, look at this dumb thing we did. Here you go. Mm-hmm. Let's look at this. And so now I think it's pretty fair. Like maybe it's not always on, it shouldn't always be on Trump, because he's just himself, and he's out of it. I don't think we really, like, criticizing him doesn't really do anything. I think you need to criticize the people who are supporting him. Like, not the voters, but the people who are in the White House who are congressmen who are still supporting this, because it's crazy, and they might be able to change their minds. I don't think the president actually will. Do
you have a lot of friends who are Trump supporters, and like, do you talk to them about that?
Friends. I don't. My circle of friends are not Trump supporters. No, but as someone who's campaigned in the South, like, I know a lot of Trump supporters. And we can talk about a little bit later why they're Trump supporters. But a lot of people just their identity is so much in Republicanism that whatever Republicans do, they're just gonna be like, yeah, this is great. And it's just
I will say, I think crazy. One way that Trump is benefiting Republicans is that we on the left now see Mitt Romney, John McCain, other candidates as absolute saints. Like, we're like wishing for them to run for president again. So at least maybe, you were saying that pre-2016, they were getting a bad rap. Maybe in future elections in a post-Trump world, they'll get less of a bad rap, because we will be thankful that they will not be as bad as Trump.
I think you're right. I think any Republican will be a lot easier to elect after Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have to say this. I think I talked about this fairly openly back during the Bush era. I despised President Bush when he was in office. I thought he was the worst thing to ever happen to this country. And in retrospect, there's still a lot that I think was really bad about that. But the country did not go down in flames, So I'm like, that wasn't too bad.
And he was somebody who expressed compassion, who showed that he had feelings. I mean, this is how low the bar is right now. Like, that's where we are. You can't even get a sense of compassion or just humanity out of Trump.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, how do you currently see the midterms and the 2020 election going?
Yeah, I'll hit this one pretty quick. The Dems are going to win 2020. I don't know who's kidding themselves. The Hillary voters are going to remember, oh, I need to vote this time. And maybe Kasich will run in the Republican primary. He won't win because he's too reasonable for this climate.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, I think it'll be pretty close. There's a chance that either party could keep or lose the House or the Senate. There's enough toss-ups in the Senate right now to where you never know. So that's my 2 cents on that one.
I agree with you on 2020. I think Democrats are really good at losing elections, though, so I think we might be fucked in 2018.
You're right.
It can also depend on like what Trump does right before the election, right? Because that'll kind of dictate some of the turnout.
Yeah, it'll dictate like how the economy is doing too. Will dictate a lot of it. So,
how do you feel about right after last week's episode, Trump announced that Kavanaugh is the nominee. How do you feel about him as the next Supreme Court justice?
Yeah, so I was trying to follow this, but my friends were watching The Princess Diaries too, and I was like, "Can I get on the TV, please, so I can see who's being nominated?" And this will be scary to y'all. I was hoping for Amy Coney Barrett, who has said she will overturn Roe v. Wade. So that's good that for at least y'all didn't get her. Yeah. But I think he'll be fine. I'm hopeful that he'll be able to overturn Roe v. Wade. And I know that's something that y'all don't.
That's a bomb to say on this show.
Yes, I know. But to me, it's like, okay, these are human beings, so you gotta, anyway, we already talked about that. So I'm excited for that. I'm a little worried about affirmative action because that's a program that helps African Americans who've been, who've been put in the ground by our country. So I hope that won't come up, or that if it will, they'll see the light on that one. There are a few other ones, refugees. I'm hoping they don't just completely ban them. But I think I'm somewhat hopeful. That's what I'll say.
Okay. All right.
Got you. And then this last question, I want to make it clear that this was a question suggested by you, Parker. This is not our wording. Sure. Why do evangelicals vote so dumb?
I think that is a great question.
Self. Good job, Self.
So, yeah. So I don't know if y'all have seen the numbers on these, like, evangelical support for these people.
Oh, yeah.
So 80%. Okay, yeah. So it's crazy. Like 80% supported Trump and 81% supported Roy Moore in the Alabama Senate election. This is after he had come out to be most likely a pedophile. So I kind of have like two really quick points that I want to hit on. First, we already talked about abortion. I think a lot of people just are going to vote for the Republican Party because the Republican Party is the only one that's pro-life. At least they say they're pro-life. And it's kind of weird because I think evangelicals could be Democrats if the Democrat Party allowed some pro-life discussion within its ranks. The church might even be 50-50. I think the Republican Party kind of has a stronghold on evangelicals because of the abortion issues. That's the first thing. And then I also think I think a lot of people who say they're Christians don't really believe what they're being told in church. I don't think they really believe that Jesus was actually a real person or that he actually rose from the dead. Because I think if you do believe that, because that's a pretty crazy statement. Like, this dead man came back alive. Like, if you believe that, it's going to change how you act and how you think. And I don't think it would allow you to vote for these people. So there's kind of that. And I think because they don't believe that Jesus actually died and paid for their sins and whatever, the whole gospel thing, I think that their Republican identity is surpassing their Christian identity, and that they're going to be like, well, I watch Fox News 40 hours a week and I go to church too. So maybe, this Fox News and this republicanism is going to overpower it. And that's to me pretty sad. And I think good for the non-evangelicals to know those reasons, because I think a lot of times it's like, oh, they're just hypocrites and they're all crazy. And I just want to say, like, there's some of us that aren't crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really wish that we heard from more of you, because
me too.
Because
man.
we need people like you saying, yeah, Trump is fucking nuts.
Yeah. There are some, but like Jerry Falwell from Liberty University is like, there are so many like Southern Baptist, and I'm Southern Baptist specifically. There are so many Southern Baptist preachers who are a little bit older. They're like in their 60s and 70s who are supporting Donald Trump because I think they've always been in the illusion that they're the majority, that Republicans and Christians are the majority in this country. But the younger ones like me and some of the 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds who are leading the Southern Baptist Convention now are not illusioned by that. They don't think that we're in the majority, so they can realize, okay, maybe I need to be planning for to spread the gospel and not to vote for power in America, because that's not really, in comparison, it's not really worth it, if that makes sense. Okay,
well, Parker, thank you for sitting in the hot seat.
Yeah, thank you for asking me those questions.
Listen, I thought this was very civil, as some people in Washington like to request.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I give you credit for coming on here for your first time, speaking to us for your first time, and sharing your thoughts for your first time in front of this type of audience.
Thank y'all for giving me the opportunity. Sometimes I feel like I need people to know that evangelicals are not always as crazy and Republicans aren't as crazy as we may seem,
Yeah, well, I appreciate you. You came on the panel. You had a 3 versus 1 discussion, and I thought you did great. So thank you so much for being here and giving us a little bit more to think about. Before we move on to some news, we do have a note from one of our sponsors, and I'm very excited to talk about them. Have y'all heard about this company making flats from recycled plastic water bottles? If not, check out Rothy's, the insanely stylish and comfortable flat that is helping save the world from plastic by repurposing it into something you can use every day. For our UK listeners, by flat, I mean shoe, not an apartment. So it will blow your mind that these are made from recycled plastic water bottles because they are so soft. On top of that, it comes in 3 fashionable styles: the flat, the point, and the loafer. The color and pattern selection is amazing, and they're always updating their lineup. They launch new colors every few weeks and sell out constantly. I love my magenta racing pointed flats. They're this beautiful, beautiful plum color with baby blue racing stripes on the sides, and I always feel so fashionable at work without my feet aching from wearing uncomfortable dress shoes all day. I love my Rothy's, and I know you will too. Right now, Rothy's has an amazing deal for our listeners. Use code MILL to get free shipping with no minimum purchase amount required. In addition to the free shipping, you'll also get free returns and exchanges on your Rothy's shoes, and trust me, you won't return them. Go to rothys.com, that's ROTHYS.com, and enter MILL to get your cute shoes and free shipping. It's a no-brainer. These are shoes that are comfortable, stylish, and sustainable, and free shipping. Get yourself a pair today and help save our oceans. Rothys.com, promo code MILL. Get this deal while it lasts.
They sound magical.
They are amazing. I love mine. And they're machine washable.
That's pretty cool.
Which is cool. Yeah, you take the insoles out, you just throw them in the wash. It's great.
I put water bottles in the washer, and that doesn't work out the same, so I'm glad that works for you.
Yeah, these won't damage the inside of your washing machine.
Great. So we have some news to talk about. I was laughing my ass off on Sunday night. It's rare that a television show will make me LOL nonstop for the entire program. But Sacha Baron Cohen, he has done it again. This is the guy who did the Borat movie, who did Ali G, done a couple other movies, not as big as those two. But he's got a new show on Showtime called Who is America? Turns out he's been secretly filming this undercover as several different characters for the past year, I believe. And the reason this has gotten into the headlines recently is because he has duped politicians on both the left and right, and just normal everyday people, into saying outrageous shit. And one example, this comes from the premiere episode that aired on Sunday. Cohen tricked several congressmen into believing that a new bill allowing kindergartners to have guns in school is being introduced. And not only do they buy it, they support it by helping him film a commercial. So here's a clip of some senators talking in favor of arming 4-year-olds.
I support the kindergartens program. We in America would be wise to implement it too. It's something that we should think about in America, about putting guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens, good guys, whether they be teachers or whether they actually be talented children or highly trained preschoolers.
Maybe having young people trained and understand how to defend themselves in their school might actually make us safer here.
A 3-year-old cannot defend itself from an assault rifle by throwing a Hello Kitty pencil case at it. Our founding fathers did not put an age limit on the Second Amendment.
The intensive 3-week kindergarten course introduces specially selected children from 12 to 4 years old to pistols, rifles, semi-automatics, and a rudimentary knowledge of mortars. In less than a month, a first grader can become a first grenader.
Toddlers
That
are...
was Joe Walsh speaking there at the end. Pretty nuts. Parker, what's your take on the gun control debate right now? Is it out of control?
I don't know. I'm for sensible gun reform. I think I'm on y'all's page, honestly, with most of it. I just don't know what these congressmen's press secretaries are doing. Are they not Googling who's coming into their office? I just don't know what they're doing.
Right. Well, I mean, they obviously didn't know it was Sacha Baron Cohen. Because I was thinking about this too. My only guess is that, they had these publicists or whatever go to these congressmen and be like, hey, so we're filming a new documentary for Showtime. And kind of left it at that without getting into details. But so here's the other angle to this story. after it came to light that Sacha Baron Cohen did this, Sarah Palin and Roy Moore came out and said that they were duped by him. And, they rightfully shit all over him, saying this is bullshit. And also in another clip, we see that he fooled Dick Cheney as well. And on last night's episode, Bernie Sanders was also interviewed, not about the gun debate. And people are also speculating that Trump may have gotten fooled, which would be in-fucking-credible if the president shows up on this show. There's no real evidence to suggest that happened. Other than that, Trump once tweeted that he had never been fooled by Sacha Baron Cohen, and then Sacha Baron Cohen, like a couple weeks ago, went and retweeted that, or it was in the promo for this show or something like that. So, can you imagine? Anyway, what do we make of this, though? Is this too far, or is this their own fault?
No, he's been doing this for years.
Yeah, but is it fair to these people to be fooled like this and then broadcast and then made to be a fool?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, they're public figures, and they didn't bother to get anyone from their office to vet this guy before he came in.
So no sympathy? I guess that's what I'm getting at.
No.
Okay.
No.
I mean, if you're going to say something dumb, you should maybe not say it on camera.
Right.
I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, he really did get these people to say that we should be arming 4-year-olds. I mean, it's absolutely crazy.
Ugh, it's crazy.
Yeah. But, wow, do I recommend this show? It's on Showtime, which I know a lot of people aren't subscribed to. I torrented the episode to review it.
Nice.
Review it. Professional business. But, man, is it funny. God, I was shook by the end of it. Anyway, Pam, what else is going on?
We have a little bit of news coming out of Facebook. Last Wednesday, Facebook held a press conference to announce new measures they're taking to prevent the spread of misinformation and Russian propaganda on their platform. So this is very timely. During this conference, a CNN News reporter asked Facebook why InfoWars, an infamous conspiracy theory bullshit news site, was allowed to maintain their status as a news agency, and apparently Facebook said that they're not exempt from this just because they're falsifying news. So the official response from Facebook was, I guess just for being false, that doesn't violate the community standards. InfoWars has not violated something that would result in them being taken down. I think part of the fundamental thing here is that we created Facebook to be a place where different people can have a voice, and different publishers have very different points of view. Now, this is a good point, but also let's go over some headlines that have come out of InfoWars in the past, because they're definitely not reputable, and they're also potentially detrimental. So here are a few of those. NASA hiding secret slave colony on Mars. Sandy Hook children revealed paid actors. Top government insider, Jews responsible for plan behind 9/11. Overwhelming evidence mounts proving Colorado shooting was staged. FBI fumbles in attempt to cover deep state schemes. And then finally, Justice Scalia's death linked to the Illuminati. So these are kind of ridiculous. This is like something you would expect to see on The Onion, but everybody knows The Onion is satire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Facebook can do about this really, because if it's not InfoWars, it's going to be another site. It's just, they're not going to be able to stop all these websites from cropping up, sharing this type of information that some people are crazy enough to share. So I guess the angle I take this from is Facebook is kind of saying here, we can't take down InfoWars because they are not in violation of policies that let any quote-unquote news site publish on Facebook.
I mean, I don't think InfoWars should be taken down. I don't think they should be listed as a news source. Oh. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, they have First Amendment rights just like anyone else.
I mean, but Facebook doesn't, I don't know. I don't feel like Facebook has to let everyone speak. I mean, they're not like the government. It's not like you have a right to Facebook. I just think InfoWars does not have a right to exist. I mean, they do really, but it's just like, this is fake news. Like to nobody's. It's worse than Breitbart.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that Facebook, even though it's a private company at the end of the day, obviously, I think they consider themselves like a public forum. And in terms of the First Amendment, a public forum is kind of fair game.
Yeah, you're right.
So
you're
it's
right.
like, it's just, I see where they're coming from, but I also don't. And I also feel like just because a big argument against the media these days is this idea of fake news, there should be a way of monitoring what is reputable and what is not. I'm not talking about, bias leans and stuff like that on actual news sites, but for these smaller websites that don't really have credited information, I just don't understand why Facebook wouldn't try and make itself look more reputable by figuring out how to, even if it's just like a small asterisk on the page saying like, by the way, for any of you guys that don't understand, like this is clearly not accurate, It's like the National Enquirer.
But people believe this information is accurate, and then by Facebook taking a side, they're going to be seen as biased.
Right. And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
Well, and this is also ironic in light of Facebook's recent campaign against going back to their roots and trying to get rid of fake news. Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, again, I'm not saying that I think InfoWars shouldn't be able to have a Facebook page. Whatever. There's all kinds of crazy shit on Facebook. But they could do a better job of curating content and making it clear what kind of content it is.
Yeah.
I would love it if anytime something like an InfoWars article got shared, an automatic message came up with it on the person's wall that shared it above it that was just like, hey, FYI, this is not real news.
Oh,
Oh my God.
That way
wouldn't that be a
everybody who
great
sees it,
little widget?
I thought you were going to say that Facebook should notify all that person's friends that person's an idiot.
No, because their friends already know that probably. Or
they're idiots
or their
too.
friends are idiots themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even I'm looking at InfoWars bio on Facebook, and they warn against Facebook. It says, remember, you are the most important factor in the battle against censorship by the technocratic elites' anti-human globalist system. Remember the share. That's all it says. I mean, it's crazy.
This is literally making people more paranoid and simultaneously trying to sway the mindless herd in their direction.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of scary.
It is scary. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, I think Facebook's first step is to at least start taking down articles that are just blatantly false by InfoWars and everything like them. Keep their page up, but monitor what these people are saying and sharing. I think
they should just label them satire.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be
Because
good.
I think that would piss Alex Jones off.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Anyway.
all right. On to another one of our advertisers right now. We have a new one this week, Skillshare. I am so excited about them. They are going to change your life, genuinely. Skillshare is an online learning platform with over 20,000 classes in business, design, technology, and more, taught by friendly experts who have real-world experience in the fields you're interested in pursuing. I'm sure some of you out there have the itch to maybe start your own online business or pick up new skills to help advance in your career, or maybe you want to become a more skilled person in your passion, which one day you can turn into some money. And this is where Skillshare will help you thrive. Let me give you an example. I run a website, and it's extremely important that people are able to find our articles in Google search results. If people can't find us on Google, the only way we're going to get people visiting our content is by hoping that they see it on social media, that we post it at the right time, crap like that. Appearing in Google is so important for us. Pam knows this. I harp on it every week in our Slack group.
Oh, yes. It's a fact.
So anyway, I've been using Skillshare to pick up new search engine optimization techniques, or SEO for short. SEO is very important in running a business. SEO isn't new to me. I've had my head in this for years, but thanks to Skillshare, I was able to search for SEO classes on their site and instantly watch experts teach me new tips and tricks. it's important to continue learning new information all the time, not just reading about something once and then, oh, I understand it fully now. You got to keep learning new information. And here's another quick example. Have any of you out there been inspired to maybe start your own podcast or your own Patreon? Skillshare has classes for you too. This is the place to go to become an expert in your passion. As somebody who dropped out of college, who runs their own business, I can tell you that taking in expertise from others is crucial to becoming successful. You're putting your fate into your own hands, and the best way to make sure you're setting yourself up for success is by educating yourself on your field. So you're probably asking, Andrew, learning from experts is probably expensive. I'm still paying off my college debt. Fuck you. How can I do this? You can join the millions of students already learning on Skillshare today with a special offer just for our listeners. Get 2 months of Skillshare for just 99 cents. That's right. Skillshare is offering 2 months of unlimited access to over 20,000 classes for just 99 cents. To sign up, go to Skillshare.com/millennial. The deal is as good as it sounds. Sign up and get watching. Skillshare is awesome, and you're going to have a great time. Again, go to Skillshare.com/millennial to start your 2 months now. That's Skillshare.com/millennial.
All right. That sounds great. So we have one more news story here today before we move into Devil's Advocate. So considering the fact that going into the midterms, healthcare has been rated the #1 issue for voters, we wanted to take some time to talk about risk adjustments. Risk adjustments are payments made by the federal government to private insurance companies to help keep the costs of covering, quote, high-risk people down. Risk adjustments are one of the key features of the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, and help keep costs down for people who fall into that high-risk pool. As a fun fact for everyone listening at home, I fall into 2 high-risk categories because I have asthma and a uterus. You'll also fall into this pool if you've had babies, have diabetes, or have ever had surgery of any kind. Now, you might be wondering why this matters. It matters because the Trump administration has stopped issuing risk adjustment payments. Without these payments, next year's premiums are expected to rise between 27 and 40%. That is on top of this year's increase, which averaged 33%. This is all happening following a court ruling in New Mexico in which the judge ruled that the equation the federal government uses to determine risk adjustment payments is arbitrary and needs to be re-examined. So instead of doing the footwork to re-examine that equation or pay attention to the federal judge in Massachusetts who upheld the risk adjustment formula, the Trump administration has opted to freeze the program. Proponents of freezing and ultimately ending the program argue that the New Mexico ruling forces the administration's hand. Opponents argue that this is a politically motivated issue and intended to rattle insurance companies as they consider whether or not they will continue selling Affordable Care Act plans in 2019. So I'm obviously not being coy here. I think I've made it pretty clear. I think this is politically motivated, but I think this is a great opportunity for the panel to give their take on this, but also talk about our own healthcare costs. So, did any of us notice a premium increase this past year? And will we be okay if they rise again by another 30-ish% in 2019? Andrew, how about you start us off?
Why are you asking the self-employed person that?
I mean, because we have a good representation of people here.
No. I mean, the answer is I'm definitely paying a lot for healthcare because I am self-employed. That's I'm paying, I think, about $350 per month. Yeah, I don't have it covered by somebody else. And then dental, I think that's pretty cheap. It's only like $20 a month or something. I can't give you a solid answer though on premiums increasing because I've switched states, so I am paying a little more, but I don't know if that's just because of what's going on in the country or because I'm in a completely different state. That said, I already feel like I'm absolutely paying enough here for my health care. And I don't need to go up another 30%.
Yeah, I mean, if it goes up another 30%, you're looking at an additional $100-ish.
Yeah, Shoot. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me what my calculator just told me. How about everybody else?
I'm going to sound like the spoiled person on this panel. I thankfully, blessedly, work for a company that covers insurance premiums for all their employees. So I do not pay for my insurance. However, this year they made it very clear how much premiums have gone up in the past year and how much they're anticipating them going up in the next year. And it makes me worried that there's going to come a time when they can no longer pay for our insurance premiums and we will start paying for it ourselves.
Yeah.
And that scares me because that's an extra, couple $100 a month that I just get to keep.
Right.
And that completely changes my budgeting and finances if that changes.
Well, I am also self-employed mostly, but I do have a part-time job that I picked up specifically because healthcare is so expensive when you're self-employed, and I can't afford that. Freelancing is like, you can get by, but it's still not, I'm not making nearly as much as somebody with like a proper job. So I work for a small company part-time on the weekends. And I think that through their healthcare plan, I'm paying $150 a month or something, but I like barely ever go to the hospital because I'm so scared about like copay or them telling me that I'm dying and I'm going to need to pay for like surgery or anything like that. So I make it a point to stay pretty healthy. So I just live in fear, honestly.
Right. And that's the thing about it, though, right? I mean, you never know when, God forbid, something can go wrong.
Right.
It is out of
like,
our
I'm not
control.
trying to break my leg doing extreme sports. I'm not trying to do anything that's going to.
You don't go out to the bar because you don't want to trip. And
right. I'm not trying to get pregnant because it's expensive to have a baby. None of that stuff.
What's your situation, Parker?
Well, if Laura sounded spoiled, I'm still actually on my parents' plan. Thank you, Obama, for raising the number to 26. I'm not 26 yet. So I'm not paying anything. So
dude, I miss that.
Dude, seriously, milk that for all it's worth.
Yeah.
Stay on there as long as you can.
Yeah, my parents were like, you want to get off and you want to do it through your work? And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think so. So I'm happy.
No.
Thanks, Obama.
Who would?
For a while, we were doubly covered because my stepmom, even though she's not with my dad anymore, kept us on her insurance very graciously.
Yeah.
And she's a full-time nurse at Kaiser.
Here we go.
So we paid like pennies, and I miss it every day. Right before my 26th birthday, I went and did everything I needed to do so I would be fine.
Y'all are making me nervous.
Yeah, get those glasses, get those checkups, just take advantage of it while you can.
Get it all done now.
Vision is expensive too. Vision insurance.
Yes.
To add on,
and it doesn't cover shit.
To add on to what Laura said, though, yes, I do believe it is to blame Obamacare and Democrats, but I also think it's just to say, see, we need to repeal this, and Republicans weren't able to come together on a plan either.
No.
What's your take on this, Parker? You said earlier that there shouldn't, we don't know how to pay for healthcare for all.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best solution?
This is one where I don't really know because what I do know is that Republicans can't ever agree on anything because you got like the Freedom Caucus people and you got establishment and you got Roy Moore over here saying something crazy. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution. I think there's an idea that I've heard thrown around is opening up competition between state lines might help get rid of some of the monopolies that are in certain states. But I am not an expert on this one, but I am sorry that all of y'all's prices are going up.
I think Trump has encouraged competition over state lines as well. And I mean, that does make sense to me because if all these businesses are fighting for your healthcare business, then competition is good.
But you could have it where they all, like Blue Cross becomes one and then Anthem becomes one and then there's only two. So I don't,
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
Yeah. And the thing that worries me is just the repeal of things like the individual mandate, like covering things like birth control and contraceptive methods. It is slowly eroding all of the things that were good about the Affordable Care Act. The ACA was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It was definitely something that came as a result of a lot of Republican pushback in the House and Senate. And the ACA was the best thing that both parties could agree on to put out there. And my fear is that by getting rid of all of these things, including risk adjustments, the most popular pillars of the ACA, that we're literally just handing the keys back to private insurance companies to say, hey, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, before the ACA, private insurance companies could be like, oh, no, you've had cancer. No, fuck you. We're not going to cover you, you know?
Yeah.
So this is my big fear here. And this is how I see it contributing to premium increases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at that point, private insurance companies will be able to drive up costs while also deciding which pools of people they are going to cover.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, like, I know we talked a lot about ourselves, but I am very close to my grandparents, and this is something that keeps me up at night with them because they're getting older, and with age comes health issues, and I just worry that potentially it could get so bad that they won't be able to be covered for, you know, the pre-existing conditions that they have due to age, and we won't be able to, as a family, pay for them to get the help they need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about that about my parents, too. I mean, not that my parents are in their 70s or anything like that, but I mean, they are in their mid-50s to, you know, early 60s. And I just think about, you know, what happens when, because my mom is self-employed and she's on my dad's insurance, and what happens when my dad retires and all of a sudden my mom can't be covered under Medicaid.
Right. Right.
Or Medicare. I think I got those mixed up. Anyway, so these are just things I think that also play at the back of my mind, Pam.
Well, all right. So let's have a little fun now to wrap up today's show. We're going to do some devil's advocate. Important to do today of all days, having our first Republican on the show here. So we're going to argue like a conservative, and then Parker can argue like a liberal.
So I have a question. I got a question about this. Do you want us to argue like funnily, like a liberal, or like
you can
try to be
absolutely
good?
have-
Like
No,
try to be
you-
like a good argument.
Oh, no.
You can have
be
Okay,
funny.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah. All right. So, Laura, do you want to time me for the first one?
Sure. Do you want to do about a minute?
Yeah, so I will argue about the rise of right-wing misinformation on social media. Since I am going to take the Republican standpoint, I'm going to defend the misinformation being out there.
Okay. You start talking and I'll start timing.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you for having me on the show today, everybody. I greatly appreciate that. The technocratic elites over on the West Coast are threatening to steal what is rightfully ours, and that is the truth. When we post information on our blogs over on the GoDaddy WordPress, we expect for everybody to be able to read it. We research hard what we see on Fox and Friends and on the Twitter, through the Twitter eggs. And we have a right to get that information out to everybody. I further believe that Facebook or any other social network would be violating our First Amendment rights. I'm just like trying to talk like Kevin Spacey in House of Cards at this point. I believe that our First Amendment rights are at risk because these people who have created all of technology, these very smart people, are stealing the way from us or something.
You're done.
Okay.
You have the Jeff Sessions accent down pat, Andrew. That was awesome. I know. I know you said Kevin Spacey, but I was like, I hear Jeff so much.
That's from practicing.
Yeah, he's practiced it a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I literally practiced it before one episode.
Sounds like you got molasses in your mouth.
I was doing that accent in honor of you, Parker, since you're from the South.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm from the South.
Yeah, but I don't hear
week.
it from you. I hear it in Parker's.
I see.
voice. Yeah.
What happens with me is, oh my God, Siri just started trying to talk to me. Like the Hey Siri thing popped up.
Don't
Really
steal the
freaked me out.
Republicans' information, Laura. Is there anything else I can help you with?
When my Southern accent comes out is when I'm drunk and around other Southerners, then it just sort of starts emerging.
Yeah, I was telling Andrew that I was with some really redneck people, not redneck, but really Southern, and they were like using their accents and not talking like crazy like that. Yeah. And I started, when I was in Ecuador, and I came back and I was like, started talking like them. I was like, oh, you gotta bring it back now, bring it back.
Pump the brakes.
All right, Laura. So for a minute, please defend the Obamacare payments that we.
Well, I'm defending the conservative viewpoint.
Right.
On this.
Yeah.
Are you timing me?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just start talking and you start timing.
Okay.
So in regards to these payments, to the risk adjustments, I think a common misconception that we hear on the left is that the right just wants to slash this stuff and take healthcare away from people and say that poor people just need to lift themselves up by their bootstraps. My dog just knocked Hillary over. That was perfectly timed. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So what we really need to look at here is that we want to try and help as many people as we can, but we have to allocate funds in a way that makes sense and that is smart from a budgetary standpoint. So something that as conservatives we all tend to be in favor of is allowing people to decide how to spend that money. I do not like the idea of the federal government handing out money to people who need it and dictating how much they get and how they should spend it, which is why expanding access to things like health spending accounts. Damn it. I was almost done making my point.
I know. This is rough.
I know.
Work for you.
Health spending accounts. I know that's a very popular conservative talking point.
Ooh, my parents have one of those, I think, actually, too. Anyway.
I can't believe your dog was helping you by knocking down Hillary. The Hillary standee.
That was awesome.
Well, her bed is right by Hillary, and she got up and moved, and it knocked Hillary over.
Oh, you let her sleep next to Hillary. That's so cute.
Of course.
All right, Parker. So as a Democrat, can you please defend the Supreme Court vacancy?
All right. Whew. Okay, this may hit close to home for y'all, so, I'm kind of nervous.
That's okay. We're ready.
Right. Just tell me when to go.
Go ahead and speak as a coastal elite. Use that.
Oh, that's going to be hard. All right. All right, I'll just start whenever.
Yep.
All right. You guys, this is the most important Supreme Court. I got the country accent. Dang it. This is the most important vacancy in our lifetime. Millions will die. Millions will die. If this man who spends credit cards on baseball tickets gets elected or gets appointed, he should not be confirmed because he is clearly an evil man who spends money on his baseball and not on his family. And I have added a country accent to this for some reason, and I do not have anything left to say, I don't think.
I just want you on the show from now on. Try to take this from the perspective of a liberal, because I have seen that story about him spending all his money on baseball tickets.
I thought that was funny.
I also just really like that everyone is going to die.
Well, I saw someone tweet that millions of people might die because of this. A real person. I was like, what?
Oh, okay.
Well, are they referring to...
I don't know. Probably like immigrants, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm hoping no one dies. But
yeah, of course.
Obviously.
A lot of people were obviously shook by the vacancy, and I'll side with people like Parker. I think there may be a little too much hoopla about this being the end of the world. Yeah, I think it's he is a
Kennedy. He was a Kennedy clerk, so he might be more like Kennedy than I even wanted, honestly. Which might be good for y'all. Good thing for y'all to hear.
Yeah, my chief concern is the idea of having a majority conservative court, especially given how long court appointments last for. I mean, we're talking decades.
Yeah.
But that's my...
Yeah, I mean, if there are certain issues that are overturned, I know Parker doesn't agree here, but yeah, that would be massive. I just wonder if we'll get to that point, but we'll see. Anyway, Pam, to wrap up Devil's Advocate here, can you please can you please disparage the return of Sacha Baron Cohen? You're speaking as a Republican. Pretend you're Sarah Palin.
Oh my gosh.
Or somebody like her who's upset that this guy is fooling people.
Yes. You know, this new Sacha Baron Cohen television show, I don't know what he's trying to do here, but from what I gather, all he's doing is making a mockery out of true Americans, which of course are men out protecting America from the evils of the rest of the world. I'm talking about our Navy, our SEALs, our military. Who does that? These are people that fight, Sasha, for your right to have this television show. And you have the nerve to go on Showtime and make a mockery out of the men and women in uniform that make sure that your First Amendment right is protected? Have some more respect, Sasha. Have some more respect, Showtime. This is absolutely abhorrent, and anybody that supports this is un-American.
Cancel your Showtime subscriptions and get a job, Sacha Baron Cohen.
I should have ended with a hashtag. A call to action.
Hashtag not Showtime. Hashtag
Hashtag no
up.
time for this bullshit.
Hashtag cancel time Showtime. All right.
Hey, Parker.
Yeah.
Before we move on here, I just want to let you know you've got a few fans in the comments, and in particular, Chelsea wants to know if you're single.
I'll say yes. But I don't know.
Why the hesitancy?
Well, because I don't know if I was going to be public on that.
Oh.
But I guess I am.
That's really funny.
Yeah, so.
I was going to say, if there was a girlfriend, you're definitely not going to send her a link to this now.
I won't. Don't tell her. But Pam, that your response was exactly what I've been hearing at just around this state. So you did pretty good job.
Thanks. I only have Sarah to thank, for the inspiration.
Absolutely.
What a woman.
Yeah, that was good.
All right. Before we move into some recommendations and closing, we do have one final update from one of our sponsors, BioClarity. Andrew and I have been using BioClarity for several months at this point and wanted to give everyone an update. My face has never been this clear, bright, and soft. Healthy habits are an important part of how you maintain great glowing skin, and BioClarity has you covered. The BioClarity Essentials routine for normal to dry skin is an easy 3-step routine. Just cleanse, restore, and hydrate. BioClarity contains hydrating plant extracts like chamomile, green tea, cucumber, licorice root, argan, olive, and shea, plus Floralex, which is derived from chlorophyll. My favorite part of this routine is the hydrate step. This lightweight, non-greasy moisturizer is perfect for hydrating during spring and summertime. Andrew, I think you said this was your favorite step too?
Yeah, it just feels good to put on your face. Like, genuinely. It feels refreshing, not only when you first put it on, but just afterwards too. It's got a good texture to it.
Yeah, and I mean, Andrew likes to put a lot of stuff on his face, so that's saying something.
Yeah, and this isn't white. This is green.
Well, the reason why everything that Andrew said is true is because BioClarity's unique ingredient, Floralex, is a clever form of chlorophyll, and it's proven for nourishing the skin and soothing away imperfections and blemishes. Floralex has antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties that feed your skin from the outside in. This stuff is basically like a green juice for your face. Detox and rebalance with BioClarity. BioClarity is delivered straight to you and is an easy-to-use 3-step skincare routine that's 100% vegan, gluten, and cruelty-free, all of those hashtag things millennials love. Get started on healthier habits with your skincare. Just go to bioclarity.com. Our listeners will get their first month for 50% off a routine, plus shipping is free. And it all comes with a 100% risk-free money-back guarantee, but you need to enter our code MIL. That's bioclarity.com and enter our code MIL.
Excellent. Yeah, good stuff. I want to offer a couple of recommendations now. We all know that I've been really into video games over the past few months, and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was just released for the Nintendo Switch. It is absolutely freaking adorable. If you have a Nintendo Switch, you should absolutely check this out. If you're considering a Switch, this should be one of the first games that you buy. It is just so cute, so delightful, so fun, surprisingly challenging. I was on the fence about it because it was a Wii U port, but they brought it over at a cheaper price. It looks beautiful. They upgraded the graphics. It looks simple, but it's really not. And it's just a really fun game. It's one of those games that works really well on the go. It's perfect for the smaller screen or at home on your big screen TV. So I definitely recommend that. And Parker, you have a video game not a video game recommendation, a recommendation.
Yeah, so I don't know if y'all have heard of this movie, Boyhood. Has anyone heard of that?
No, what's it about?
Okay, well, Andrew seems to have. But it's basically a movie that it's 2 hours, 45 minutes long. It's very long. But it basically just tracks this kid's childhood up to adulthood. And the gimmick kind of cool thing is that it was actually shot over 12 years. So it started when he was 6. And when the actor turned 18, they finished it up. So it's really cool. It's just kind of about life. There's not really much of a plot in it, but I watched it a couple nights ago. I split it up in 2 days, and it's just really awesome. So I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've never watched it because I did hear it was so long. But maybe splitting it over 2 days is a good call.
Yeah, I saw this in theaters, and I kind of wish I had done that, honestly. But no, it is good.
Did you like it, Pam?
Linklater, the director, he makes some pretty interesting films, and this one was definitely done very well. It's very kitchen sink. If any filmmakers are out there listening, they'll be happy to hear that, I'm sure.
I have a much less impressive recommendation. I want to recommend veggie hot dogs. So I'm a pescatarian, so I don't eat pork, chicken, any of it. And I've recently discovered that Publix has veggie hot dogs in their produce section. And these things are the bomb. First of all, they taste just like regular hot dogs, which means somebody did a really good job or they're trolling me. I don't know which. But the other cool thing about these is they're half the calories of regular hot dogs. So even if you're not a vegetarian, you can try these if you want to be able to enjoy hot dogs without feeling guilty about having them. Because if you are watching what you eat or if you're on any kind of diet, hot dogs are kind of a no-no. But these are really great. I'm able to maintain a healthy diet and indulge in these every now and then. So,
nice.
2 thumbs up.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Wait, so Laura, does it count as a vegetable if I eat it?
They have it in the vegetables section, so I would say yes.
That is awesome.
Pat's rolling his eyes so hard right now. I can hear it. Me either. Doesn't believe in this fake shit. Anyway, no, I've done that. I've eaten some vegetarian hot dogs and veggie burgers. They can be really good.
Yes.
All right. Well, we have a lot more coming up today in After Dark. I have an update on some dog drama that's been going on here. We're also going to talk about how companies can or should earn our loyalty, because Laura has a story. And then we're going to do some Google that shit. Little announcement. We will be off next week. We're going to take a bit of a vacation, but we'll be back the week after that. And I'm sure we'll have lots to update everybody on. Also, beginning probably in August, we are going to start putting that new Patreon benefit in which we start bringing listeners onto the show. We'll put that new benefit into action. So we've gotten some people filling out the form already. Some of our Facebook official members who want to come on for a full episode, like Parker did. And it'll be a lot of fun, I think. And by the way, speaking of Patreon, we do have some new benefits going up, like new installments of Landy. Laura and I were geeking out about a couple of different things over the weekend, so those have been going up, including talk about Prime Day, which we didn't talk about here, but big day on the internet for Prime Day.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. We also answered some questions.
Yes, we didn't ask me anything, which that'll be up soon, and I think it addressed stuff that people have been asking us a lot about.
Yeah. Let's just say that you guys really did ask us anything.
Yeah. Let's just say Pam gets thrown under the bus. Oh, my God. Poor Pam.
I knew it.
Spoiler alert.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
I'm Pamela.
And I'm Parker.
Goodbye.
Bye.
How does a ragtag volunteer
this one was
army in
good.
need of a shower somehow defeat a global superpower? How do we emerge victorious from the quagmire? Leave the battlefield waving Betsy Ross's flag higher? Yo, turns out we have a secret weapon, an immigrant you know and love who's unafraid to step in. He's constantly confusing, confounding the British henchmen. Everyone give it up for America's favorite fighting Frenchman!
I'm taking this horse by the reins, wicked red coats, weather with blood stains. Feel I'm never gonna stop until I make them drop a brand of up and scatter the remains down. Watch me engage.